project because I don't want to touch this existing code. I'm going to create a new project because we are going to only test the GPS functionality of our emulator. In this case, we are going to send a mock location. So let me close this example. I'm going to start a new project. Whatever. As I already explained, I'm not only going to write the GPS functionality, I'm also going to check whether this GPS code works only when application is open, or it also works when application is also closed. Or if it is not, we have to make it working. By default, it is not going to work because activity closed, none of the object resides. None of the object is going to be alive. Okay. So our default one is we are going to remove the unwanted stuff. Anyway, thanks to this particular example, we are not going to create any design. But anyway, I really don't like the floating menu and other stuff, so I'm just going to go back. Remember, I'm just removing the no action bar particular line because that will put the action bar back. Okay. First thing, location manager class. An object called location manager. This particular manager class is having all the reference of your location specific hardware. It connects through it, gives you all the feature functionalities. But remember, such a hardware will be a single hardware would be there in your phone. Multiple applications may be accessing that hardware. Like not only your application is going to access location, your existing apps like a weather report or Google Now, everything will be accessing the location at the same time. So it has its own way of putting them into a queue and giving access to that. But anyway, so there is a location manager. I need to get access to the location manager. Getting access to the location manager is actually in this way. Get system service context. It's a global context. C uppercase. Remember, maybe a constant defined inside this class. So there is a system service instance. From the system service, get access to your location manager. You just got access to your location manager hardware. That's it. So this particular line, in the given device, get the access to your location manager. Now I can start sensing the locations. But one more thing, I need some sort of event listener, like a button. Whenever it is getting clicked, some callback was triggered. Similarly, whenever your location changed, whenever you make a move, whenever something happens to your device, I need an event listener, or in this case location listener, so that it will update me whenever a new location arrives. So same way I did for a previous event listener. In this case, location listener implements location listener. Being an interface, having a lot of abstract methods, so it is throwing error, asking me to implement some methods. There are plenty of methods, 4 methods, okay, which we need to implement them. Okay, it added 4 different methods, different times. Okay, first method, on location change. Okay, this is pretty appropriate whenever your device gets a new location. It means you are making a movement. This particular callback or this method will be executed. Whenever status changed, for example, you will turn off, turn on the GPS, like there is an option in your settings. So whenever something happens, it will also alert you, okay, somebody has turned off your GPS to take action. Provider enabled disabled. Okay, I already told you there are two type of provider. One is the real satellite GPS provider, another one is the network provider. So any one of the provider gets enabled or disabled, this particular callback methods will be called. But I just implemented the location listener. I need to connect with my location manager. Oh my god, let me break it. Location manager request location updates. Okay, it has a lot of thing, but let me add the first one. Provider, who's a provider? Okay, location manager is a constant. I am looking for GPS provider. Only get the values from the satellite. I don't want the network provider. Long minimum time. 0 is the least one. Anytime a new location arrives, immediately it will put you. Otherwise, if you put some sort of 20, 30, 20 millisecond, some sort of millisecond later only, it will give you a value. But 0 by default. Like, anytime new location arrives, it will immediately alert you. Minimum distance you can also specify. Only when a device makes a movement of 1 meter or 10 meter, it's in meters. So then only you retrieve the location. These things will probably help you to conserve the battery, because you keep on accessing GPS, tend to lose a lot of battery because it is making a longer connection. You can give an optimum value 10 meters if required, but I'm going to keep it 0 for testing purpose. And the final one is the location learner, which has already been implemented over here.
Yes.
Okay, but it is showing something else. Okay, in the small world, I mean, it is actually alerting me. This is actually Android Studio is doing. Missing permissions. What is permission? Now we have to, update the manifest. I already told you, if your application access some sort of sensitive privacy related data, like you are accessing internet, if you are accessing SMS, if you are accessing something which possibilities are there, the user may tend to pay something. You need to cast a permission in manifest. It is saying, please add these permission in your manifest, so that when the application is installed, user will be shown a screen, hey, this application is going to access location. When you click, you are accepting the terms, you are accepting the condition. So the user will give you explicit permission when you access some sensitive data. So Android Studio is actually giving you to add two permission: access course location, access find location. How to add a permission? Let us see. Go to manifest file, Android manifest file. Immediately or just before the application tag, add the user's permission. It will immediately give you list of permission which can be added to your application. The very first one itself. Finish the tag. Now course location also needed. Find location is the accurate location. Course location due to the network provider. Rough or estimated one. So both the permission you need to add. Yeah. So when you add a permission here, the user will be notified when he installed the application. You would have seen it already when you try to update your App Store apps, that something pop-ups arrives like permission. So like this. So because of that, because you are asking a permission to the user, or maybe you are notifying the user, this particular application will access GPS. Don't panic like that. So we have to add the permission here. Make sure the permission is common across. So make sure just above the application tag. So it is for your entire application. Okay, so assuming we have added those permission, now we are all set. That's just more than enough. But before that, let me add some sort of log. Whenever I am getting a new location not null, we have to make sure there are null location also may come. Remember, this location object contains latitude, longitude, altitude, maybe speed, lot of information it has. Because you have seen some of our apps, you just need to install and see what is the speed you are making. It is because of this code. Because it is constantly running, because of GPS coordinates, the way you make a movement, it will automatically give you a distance or per hour distance what you're traveling. So that also can be used in your application to display. Anyway, so I need to make sure the location is not null. Let me put a log. Just we'll print it in the console. Let's see how it is come. Then we can use it for location get latitude, comma location get longitude. Altitude needed is printed required because we are going to mock it. If I have a real my device is it's actually a test device, so it doesn't work properly. Okay, so now whenever the device receives a new location through a GPS, it is going to print this log in the console. So we will see okay whether this particular code is working. Let me install. There is some errors. What is that? Okay, that is okay. It doesn't detect. It is asking to check the permission and all the stuff. That's not an issue. It is running, but meanwhile, we'll create a Android device monitor ready so that we can send the mock location for testing purpose. I'm starting Android device monitor, which is there on the extreme, maybe the second icon, I hope. So from the last, the second icon, when you click it, you can get the device monitor. Device monitor, nothing but it just monitor your device, what it is printing, and various debugging stuff you can do with that. I would recommend clicking on the emulator first because if you have more than one emulator or more than one device running, you can connect as many as devices. So it will have multiple devices listed. Make sure you highlight a device which you are trying to access. So highlight it. Now, we make this particular tab. Okay, I just slightly made it bigger. I need to make sure whether my code is working. It's not working yet. Okay, it's still in. Okay. Okay, here there is a tab called Emulator Control. Here, if you see that, you can send a mock location. It looks like a latitude longitude. When I click send, your device, your emulator will pick up the location and try to alert you. So first we have to make sure it is running. Something has happened. What is that? I just added access fine location permission. It's complaining me. Okay, anyway. Okay, let me run it. Maybe it did not detect that changes. Still giving me warnings. GPS location provider requires action find permission. It is complaining me. Access find location. Sometimes this kind of errors may come. Let us clean the project. Is there anything which is preventing us? If not, I'll run it on my phone because something your emulator giving some sort of errors. Sure. Wait. See, there is a permission in the manifest, or whether I am editing some other different manifest. See here. Same complaint. Let me. Even after adding the permission, this guy is not letting me in. Okay, is there any way this Android Studio helping me to do that? GPS provider. Okay, let me add a network provider for testing purpose. Maybe because of the real GPS is not there, that's why it is complaining. Maybe. Users permission, find course, both the thing I'll add. Network provider is a software based location finding. Anyway, I have a device as well, so if required I'll use that to test. No mercy at all. Those permissions are there. Buggy. Okay, let me test on my device. So my device choice is coming here because I just connected my real phone. So I'm trying to install on my phone. Let's see what it is showing me. To be installed. It works. Maybe you would need a real device, looks like, but anyway, it is working here. So let me see the log what it is printing. Since I have more than one device connected, if you notice the device monitor is having one more option. So let me see the log whether it is printing some location. See that latitude and longitude has arrived. So it is actually finding the device latitude and longitude. I connected the real device in fact. So the log being printed over here. We are not making any movement, so it doesn't change anything. But if you could make a substantial amount of movement, this value, see, I think it is printing. Slight changes. The coordinates slightly changed. It is actually, I'm using a network based one. Pardon. Which one? That is only for emulators, not for a real device. You cannot push a mock location, but it is there in the emulator control. For example, you can push the real. See, it's grayed out because it's a real device. But if it is an emulator, I can push those values. But unfortunately, I don't know why it is not taking the permission. But it should take. But when it takes a real device, we'll see what maybe the new feature which is preventing whatever it may be. But if you notice this one, it is giving me the location. So A location listener and the location manager with the sufficient permission is more than enough to identify which location you are in. So the device is using the network mode to identify the GPS. But for effective usage, I would recommend both. Let the user go out of in a clear sky, let him get the accurate value. GPS provider. Both the provider you can enable it, or you can create a combination of both, whatever in way. So whenever a location arrives, it is going to inform you whenever a new location is available. So the first one is a network provider, software based. From the distance, your tower and your phone, or maybe through the Wi-Fi access point nearby, it will try to calculate your approximate location. But this thing may not be accurate. But while you're traveling, it is more than enough to identify the city location, not a pinpoint location. At least now it will help you to identify where you are. Whereas the GPS provider will give you a accuracy with few meters, like within a meter distance, that accurate level you can easily find out. So it is quite effective, but only thing it will need a lot of battery. So I have enabled both. And let me see if any changes coming in. It's on my phone. Go to the device monitor. Let it install. I think it is printing something. It went away. Units of logs are there. Okay, it is printing. So it will identify your location depending on the providers it is attached, depending on the condition where you are in. If you are making a move, you will have this thing rolling quite fast, and it can identify the location quite effectively. If you notice this, I am getting a variable changes. So maybe one is coming because of the real GPS, another maybe due to the network, or network itself is oscillating because I set the 0, 0. As long as new location available, just pop it out or whatever it is there displayed. So this particular location listener is working. But the only condition, if I close my application, my location listener is also gone. I just close my application. I just hit the back button, my application is closed. It may not work. So the limitation is actually, maybe due to the old one. Okay, I can shut it down. Okay, there is another problem. Let me shut down properly, because location manager keep on listening. Maybe it may have a residual, data. So on destroy, whenever your application is destroyed, okay, you need to make it global. It is always recommended, if you do not need a location manager or you don't want to listen a location, it is recommended to shut down the location manager. Remove updates. This will properly shut down your location sensing. Destroy mean, of course, the activity is no longer in use. So I can shut down my GPS searching. Otherwise, it may be running behind the screen. It will shut down quite long time later. So it is better call this remove updates and kill it whenever you don't want. So this location manager is pretty straightforward. So you can easily sense and calculate the distance, find out your current location. But in a real application, you might want to show what it is. I mean, we need to reverse geocode it and arrive at a readable address. Electronic City, this face, Bangalore. So in order to do that, we have to depend on web service. We need to depend on third-party web services which can decode your latitude, longitude into a readable address. That you can find using maybe maps.google.com. If you just put your latitude longitude, it will try to give you the location. For example, I'm just going to copy this location where it is. It's a map. Just type it and search. I think we are somehow closer. Yeah. Somehow closer, may not be pure, but somehow it is closer. It is identifying. Okay, but we cannot depend on this way. We have a web service. So Google Map Web Service. We have one session to discuss about web services exclusively because that is also an additional topic. Your manager will add a little later only. So distance, geolocation. Okay, what we are going to do is we are going to add a web service option to this code. It is going to make, what is that? Geo reverse coding, right? Geolocation API. Okay, I really don't know what is elevation coding. Reverse geocoding. Okay, geocoding, latitude, longitude lookup. Okay, here it is. This is forward geocoding. I'm just looking for reverse geocoding. We need to read through this one. Address is there. Here it is. Just finding. I'm only having geocoding, reverse geocoding. Where it is. Here it is. Address lookup. So you form a URL in such a way. Okay, copy to the clipboard. API key may not be needed, but I'm just trying to see. This is the latitude longitude I got from the phone. I'm just going to change it. API key. The hell is, for testing purpose they don't give us. Okay, you need to register. I mean, using your Google account, once you register, you will be given an API key. Okay, I have my API key ready. My God. I think my permission is denied. Okay. Anyway, if you try to access it, you will be getting a JSON kind of response like this. In this, you'll have a readable address. So, getting your latitude longitude from GPS provider, make a web service to Google, and get the readable address to display in your phone. So we have to do this kind of roundabout way in order to arrive this one. So we'll write an example. Of course, this part is also going to cover the web service, how you can make a remote call to a server and how you can get back the response from the server. So this part we will add going ahead. So from that we will reverse geocode the latitude longitude and make it as a readable address. How to pass the JSON also we will identify because it's a JSON. JSON means, what is the JSON? What it does, what it really, what is the purpose of it? Pardon? Okay. Yeah, that's the purpose. Typically, for example, I want to represent a JavaScript object or array. This is a notation. It's a kind of a file or maybe a string. By parsing it, I can identify JavaScript arrays when it is coming as a square bracket, or square bracket is going to be a JavaScript array. A curly brace is going to be a JavaScript object. So it is easy to represent in this way rather than using XML. XML, you would need to iterate quite longer time, identify the parent node, and then extract the information. This is it's widely getting popular nowadays. So sending the data through a JSON, any devices can easily parse it and display. Android is having built-in JSON parser that you can easily parse this entire document and extract the value, formatted address in this case, and display wherever it is required. So location provider is pretty straightforward, and by implementing a location listener, attaching a required provider, you have your location listener ready. I mean, your application can sense your location at any point of time. Second, if you want to make your application running in background instead of writing in this way, there is one more easiest way. I just opened the mail. Okay. I want to run the location listening in the background rather than in the foreground, because when our application is destroyed, I have to make sure I remove the location manager instance in order to prevent memory leak. So what I can do, I can create a service instead of an activity. I'm just going to give a name my service. I'll come back what is exported enabled a little later. Okay, this is a second concept of our Android learning or maybe Android application development program. So far, whatever the classes we were creating was having a class name extends some sort of activity. But this time it is service. Couple of methods are there. We'll see that what is that binder, all those things we'll see. Right? What do you think? Okay, service. Service, this particular class, it is a background class. In fact, it has a longer life cycle. What is the activity life cycle? If I ask, you will easily say, because as long as the device is open, the view is open, as long as the view is set to background or closed, the activity life cycle spans across various methods. That's what we know so far. But this is service. Service has its own life cycle. Service life cycle. But it is quite extensive. Means once it is started, until you manually come and stop it, it will run throughout. No matter your application is open or closed. All you need to just start it. Instead of start activity, I will be calling start service. That's the difference. Same intent, same source and destination, everything is same. But instead of activity, it is going to be start service. But once the service started running, it goes to a background. There is no set contribute, nothing. There is an invisible part, no UI. But this particular service will run until you manually force it to stop. It's a quite longer life cycle. So it also has on create, but without any arguments, on destroy. Okay, it is coming. Morning you did not come. Came later. Okay, take your energy drink.